Hi, I'm Stephanie, and this is Texas Peach Knits. Thank you for joining me again for another podcast. I'm Stephanie. I'm a homeschool mother of four. I'm married to a musician, and I live in North Texas, west of Fort Worth. We are finishing up our school year. We have had a wild and busy May, as I'm sure all of you with children in school and activities or homeschooling have also had a very busy May. It has been a whirlwind, and it is almost over. We are wrapping up our last few classes and activities and winding down for the summer. It feels like it's been a really long time since I did a podcast, and that's okay. I really missed sharing all of my things, but as I said, it's been a little wild here. Today I have for you some finished objects, some works in progress, some spinning results, and spinning projects. I have a frugal find. I actually have two. And I have a few little stories about the things that have been going on with us, including a rooster story. So stick to the end if you want to hear about my rooster who hates me. Today I am wearing one of my favorite Catholic T-shirt club t-shirts. This is St. Padre Pio with one of his famous quotes, "Pray, hope, and don't worry." I love this t-shirt, and I feel like he is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of saints. Let's get into my finished objects. One of the first things I finished, well, I was in a hurry to finish a few things prior to May beginning because the Fosette along was starting with Knitty McPurly, and I really wanted to cast on a Fosette top. But I knew I had a lot of things on the needles, so I needed to muddle through and get some of them done. Now, I'm definitely an inspiration joy-led knitter, and I almost always knit just because I really want to knit. And I usually don't put a lot of constraints on myself or really goals that I feel like I have to meet. But I do come to times where I realize I have so many things going that nothing is getting finished. And it's a little frustrating because you enjoy knitting, you want the finished objects, but you have to push through to the end. And so, in order to cast on my Fosette top, I decided that there were a few projects that I needed to make major progress on and or complete. So this first one is the socks that I was knitting for my cousin. And this is just a simple top down 64 stitch sock, and it's got a normal slip stitch heel and gusset. I did kind of a waffle pattern, but I did not follow an exact pattern for this. I just kind of knit and did what I wanted. I made a mistake though, because on the first sock, I was really careful to line up where I started the foot in the pattern so that it would have like the same stitches on this side and on this side. So they have about half of the pattern on each side instead of being one side, well, they would have 4 and 4, but they would be different. They wouldn't be the same. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I was really careful with the first sock to make sure I did that. And then the second sock, I totally forgot. And this one has the 4 stitches, and then the other side, see how it looks empty? I even messed up because that one was empty, and on this side it had the pattern. I honestly don't think my cousin will notice, so I just kept going. But I had to laugh at myself because I was so careful with the first sock, trying to make that happen. And then the second sock, la 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 la, just knitting and didn't do it. So this was Patons Kroy socks. And I had purchased this a while ago, maybe last summer. I was going to knit them for myself, but then I decided to knit them for my cousin. So I have a lot of sock yarn now, so that's okay. But one reason I really wanted to finish them to start the Fosette top, but also I wanted to cast on Mother's Day socks for myself. So I got these done. I don't think there's anything else I need to tell you. It's very, very basic sock pattern. The second project I finished was the Leaf Love baby sweater, which is the second baby project on my Make 9 baby board. And it looks like this by Taiga Hillard. And I finished it. So I opted to stop the lace halfway and put in a waistband because I wanted to be able to just go and knit and not look at the chart. So I think it still looks really cute. And this is a very soft acrylic yarn called Sprightly that came in a kit that I showed several podcasts ago. It was for a blanket, but I decided to use the yarn for baby projects. And I believe it's called Dusty Rose. And I did a little bit of a decrease at the wrists so that they kind of go in and have this cute little, just a little bit of a inward. And let me see if I made any other changes. I don't think so. But I think I made the 3 or 6 month size, and I really feel like this looks like a 1-year-old size. So whoever I give it to, it will probably fit a while. So, and you can always roll up baby sleeves and it still looks cute. So this is the Leaf Love baby sweater. It is a free pattern, and this is at least the second time I've knit it, so I really like this pattern. It knits up nice. So we are transitioning to whips now, and the next thing I really wanted to make a lot of progress on, but I knew I wasn't going to finish, was my Acorn Trails sweater by Amy Herzog. So you guys have seen this so many times. I'm sorry. So here's the sweater, and it has this lovely, lovely cable pattern. And I am knitting a size 42.5 for myself. I'm using a size 6 US needles and Knit Picks Wool of the Andes yarn. So I have done all the knitting I can possibly do before blocking this. So I am excited because all I have left is blocking all the pieces, seaming them together, and then knitting the button band. So I feel like that's really, really good. And especially since now it is way too hot to wear a wool worsted weight sweater, I can soak it and block it, and I have until fall to stitch it together. So let me show you all the pieces. So this is the left front, and I didn't make any modifications to this at all. I followed the pattern. I guess the one modification I made, but it was a modification she suggested in the pattern, was I knit the bottom waist part about 2 inches shorter than what was recommended in the pattern, which she recommended that for shorter waisted people, and I'm shorter waisted, long legs, so I went ahead and did that, and I think I did this 14 inches, and maybe it had said to knit it for 16. I don't remember. And I also didn't do any waist shaping, so this is going to be kind of a more boxy shape without the waist shaping, but it has this beautiful acorn cable, this lace panel, and then the right side is the same, just a mirror image. It's all rolled up. So the back, which you have seen, and when you knit things in pieces, you kind of have to trust that it's going to fit. But I did lay it out with a sweater that I wear just to kind of make sure, and it seems like it's fine. And then the thing I really powered through were the sleeves, and these are all curled up. So it's so funny. I thought that this was a 3/4 length sleeve pattern, because in the pictures she has her sleeves pushed up. It's a full length sleeve pattern, and that's fine, but since the sleeves were knit from the bottom up, I didn't want to mess with the length or anything to make sure they still turned out fine. So it's, let me see if I can show this on my arm. So it's, it's a full length sleeve. And it has a whole bunch of twisted rib, which is one of my least favorite things to knit. But I'm just trusting that I'm going to enjoy that on the finished product so much. So I have 2 sleeves all done. This first sleeve, this is where I was the last time I filmed. And so I finished all of this and this whole sleeve. So I feel like that's pretty good. So the next time you see this, I intend to have had it blocked and seamed and maybe have picked up for the button band. But maybe not. Maybe I'll just show it seamed. But we'll see. I just need it done for fall, right? So I have one more project that I really needed to make progress on, and I actually need to work on it a little bit more. And that is the Norah Gaughan Flower Child top that I am knitting for my 11-year-old. And my biggest issue with getting this done is I just really don't enjoy the yarn. But it's a beautiful top. I also don't enjoy knitting in these like pieces because you knit each triangle separate, and it's just not as intuitive and not as easy to just pick up and knit. So I did make good progress on this though, because I know it needs to, and this one needs to get done soon. So the front section has 5 triangles, and I have completed the one main triangle on the bottom and a side triangle, and these are so fascinating, these like pieces. So this is like the bottom half of the sleeve. See that? And this is another one of those patterns that you just have to trust. Like, I trust the pattern and it's going to be okay. I'm just going to follow the pattern. And then this side, I think is, let's hope I didn't knit the same piece again. This one goes, I know. I don't know where this one goes. So I'm just going to finish knitting it and we will find out where it belongs. It belongs somewhere. I think this goes over the neck. Yes, okay, so this goes over the neck. This is the top of the sleeve. Hair is all in the way. So over my neck, that's going to go behind the neck. And then this other one that fell on the floor goes here for the bottom half. So I have one whole side done, and I just have two more pieces. So I'm knitting this one on one of my few pairs of Chalgu red pointy needles. I do like these, but I don't like them enough to run out and buy a whole set because I have lots of other needles and they all work fine for me. I don't have super strong needle preferences. So that's exciting that that's doing well. And as soon as I finish my Fosette top for myself, I will get back on to my daughter's top, and she's being very patient, so it's gonna be fine. So, and now that it's summer, I'm gonna have more time for knitting, hopefully. I guess I'll show you the Fosette top next. So this one, it's a Knitty McPurly pattern, and she decided to do a knit along. I'm sure all of you heard of it. And pretty much everybody jumped in and said they wanted to knit it. And I think it's because she is just so positive and so encouraging and is really great at building that online knitting community that most of us want to have. So everyone loves her, and everyone wants to participate in her things. So I also knitted the Benedicta sweater that she had designed previously, and I knit that last spring, and I really enjoyed it. So I knew that I would enjoy doing another one of her sweater patterns. So another reason I wanted to knit it is I've had this Hempathy in my stash for a while. I think that some of it came from Michelle in Houston, who sent me a gift. I believe the teal came from her, and I already had some of these other ones from a friend who I purchased a big box of her D-stash one year. And so these three colors, I'll have to look up the numbers, but it's a very dark purple, kind of a muddied seafoam-ish green seagrass color. It almost looks marled, more marled than the other ones, but still not super marled. And then this dark teal color. So the Fosette top is a DK pattern, so you can either hold together two fingering weight yarns or you can use DK. Now this is hemp, cotton, and something else, which I'll look at the tag in a minute. And it looks very thinnish to me, and I was a little concerned knitting a DK pattern with it because it appeared thin. But then I looked online and I saw that a lot of people said after washing it plumps up quite a bit. So I decided it's going to be a summery top because it's with this hemp cotton blend, and it's short sleeve. So if it's really drapey and airy, I'm fine with that. And so I took a chance with it and decided to knit it. Now, I began using this color as the neck color around the neckline, and then followed that up with I think I did the purple and the teal. I really didn't like them in that order, even though I like these three colors together with this lightest color around the neck. It just really wasn't turning out the way that I liked it, and I didn't want to keep working on it if I wasn't going to wear it. So I ended up flip-flopping the colors and doing this with the dark purple around the neckband, and I'll show you. I like it so much better. This is my Fosette top so far. This is the back seam right there, so you can tell the seam doesn't show up too bad with the color work. And So I have the dark purple, then the seagrassy color, and then I added in the teal. Now, I changed some of the color work slightly. I really liked the slip stitches, and I liked how they made it look kind of not so exact, like it made it look almost like woven. So I decided at the top and bottom of these triangle sections, instead of just knitting straight, I would slip stitches there as well. So I did that, and then I added in this teal spot row right there. And then I think the rest of this I am following what she did. So the rest of this is this. So this is stranded, this section right here. And you can see the inside. So lots of stranded, lots of slip stitches. And the teal is going to end up being the wide band of color. And then I think I'm going to use the dark purple for the bottom half and the bottom ribbing. And I might work in the light color again at the bottom, or I might not. I think I have enough of this yarn. So I'm just going to play with it and decide what I like. But I'm enjoying this a lot. The main thing with the Hempathy is that it's more slippery than a wool. And so on these needles, look, I lost a stitch already. These are just some Knit Picks interchangeables. And I believe they're size 6. No, I'm using size 5, 3.75 millimeter. I am a loose knitter, so if her pattern says 6, I'm not surprised I would be using a size 5. It's very, very drapey, and the Hempathy slides off, so it's not as quick to knit because it doesn't help you a lot. You have to kind of work for it. So, but I like it. I think that the texture of the fabric it's making is really lovely, and it's going to be an awesome summery top. And she gave us until the end of June to finish. So that is my goal, to finish this by the end of June. So we'll see how it goes. So let me see what colors these Hempathy were. I wrote it down. So these are numbered colors, and I didn't look them up online to see if they had a name, but the dark purple is number 12. The seagrass kind of colorway is number 25. And the teal colorway is number 28. Okay, so I've got 12, 25, and 28. And this is Elsebeth Lavold. I probably butchered that. And it is 34% hemp, 41% cotton, and 25% modal. And in 50 grams, there's 153 yards or 140 meters. So I think I have at least 4 balls of each one. So I have plenty to use for the Fosette top. And I actually think I have more of this. So I'm not going to use a whole lot of it in this. So I might end up with some kind of other summery top out of this color. So we'll see what happens. But I'll break in with a very quick Frugal Find. I'm keeping this in this basket that was called a knitted basket. You can see the knit stitches. So this is just a plastic little basket. And I actually found this at a thrift store one day, and Normally I wouldn't pick up just a random little plastic basket, but when I saw that it said knit, the Curver knit collection, so, and it was only $2, so I thought it was a good deal, and it's actually really great to keep my things in and by my little table that I have next to my chair where I like to knit in my bedroom. So I have been enjoying that, and it matches my colors really, really well because it's dark purple too. So that is convenient. It's always fun. It is always fun to find kind of cute little containers and bags and things to use for your knitting, especially when you have lots of projects on the go, so you can kind of keep them separated. Okay, so then I have my Mother's Day socks that I started, and this was a mini knit along with Emily from Woldenburg, and her and I both went to the Hobby Lobby sales and picked up this Midnight Orchid Patons colorway, and I just thought this was so beautiful. You can tell I like purple. Like, this is purple and green and like teal too, so I'm knitting all the same colors right now. There was a while that I was knitting all brown, so I guess it's a good change. Well, so I couldn't decide what kind of sock pattern I wanted to do, whether I wanted it to be fast and just basic, or whether I wanted to do something interesting and different. And I saw a picture of the socks knit up just in stockinette stitch, and I saw that the stripes were somewhat thin, and that kind of affected what I decided to knit. So I'm using a pattern out of this book, and I know everybody has seen this book. I think it's at every public library in the United States. This is the Sock Yarn One Skein Wonders book, edited by Judith Durant. It's 101 patterns that go way beyond socks. And I purchased this on clearance at Half Price Books for $3. So that's a pretty good frugal find. But I've had this a long time, at least 10 years, if not longer. But the pattern I chose was a pattern that was made to use with a specific type of sock yarn, that the first half of the sock yarn was kind of a colored, multicolored kind of yarn, and then it would go into a more solid, darker color. And so this sock yarn pattern has you use both ends of the yarn. So you're knitting with your multicolored lighter yarn and the darker, more solid yarn at the same time in your sock. So I decided to use the Patons Kroy as my multicolored color, and I'm using this Stroll fingering weight, more purple. This is in the eggplant colorway, as my darker color. So this pattern, it's called the Bohusian. I am not doing well with the words today. Bohusian. I think it's like Bohusian socks. There's the Bohusian socks. And this is by Mary Alice Baker. And these socks look like this. So you can see, let me see if I can get it to clear up. That's a little better. There we go. Oops. I hide my face. I've heard that helps. So it's kind of a stripy pattern with the lighter color and then the darker worked into the sock. So since I have a full skein or I have 100 grams of both the one and the other. I'm going to make the legs longer, and because of the little bit of like slip stitching and stuff, they're going to be thick. So they're going to be winter socks. And I sadly did not get very much of these done. Okay, I made a mistake. I decided to do them 2 at a time because all of my yarns are already separated. So I thought, why don't I do them 2 at a time? I didn't think about all the the twisting of the yarns, right? They just like, me. Okay, so this is going slow, but that's okay. And it's fine. They're all twisted too. Look at all that twisting. So here's the socks. Look, aren't they pretty? So I decided to do a 2x2 rib for the cuff because I am making them longer, and then I'm following the pattern for the slip stitches. So it basically is a striped pattern with 2 different colors of yarn, and when you transition from one stripe to the other, there's a little slip stitch and a purl pattern or repeat. And it's actually really fun to knit, and I think it looks adorable. Like, I think the little slip stitches look cute, and the little purl bumps look pretty. And I like how the Patons yarn is changing colors kind of around the darker purple yarn. So this has been really fun to knit, just very slow. Part of the problem is I almost always knit my socks at my daughter's music rehearsal that they have once a week, and because I get to sit in the audience and knit while they practice, and that has ended. So I'm not getting that dedicated time, and that ended early in May. So I haven't quite figured out when to pick these up yet, but I'll figure it out. So that is Stroll Fingering and Eggplant and Patons Kroy in Midnight Orchid. And this does have a darker purple color, but it's not as dark as the eggplant. So I feel like, I think I just got into that down here. You can kind of see, you can still see the difference. Maybe not so close to the needle. But those are my little knit along with Emily of Woldenburg, and they were supposed to be kind of fun Mother's Day socks, and now they're going to be summer sock camp with the crazy sock lady. So I'm glad she's allowing whips. I would like to share with you some spinning that I finished and a project that I cast on with my spinning that I absolutely adored. So this is my finished spinning, which had a lovely little bath. This is a Still River Mill graduated color bump that was a gradient from light to dark. This is the medium to dark side because I used the other half in my project. And this was a Dawning Dreams Superwash Merino. And I'm not sure there was a colorway, but it was this lovely kind of fallish color. And really, when I gave them a little soak and thwacked them, man, they just were transformed. So if you spin and you go straight from spinning and plying your yarn straight to knitting it, I highly recommend that you take this time to soak it. I put it in these little just plastic bowls. I put each skein in a bowl and a tiny bit of wool wash and just let it soak a little while, and then I hung them outside to drip, and then I hit them to the side of the house. So I have pictures that I will share and I really think it made a huge difference. So both of these are chain plied. So it's a Navajo 3-ply where you basically, when you're plying the yarn, you're making these huge crochet chains that makes 3 strands kind of curl up together. I really enjoy chain plying. It's a lot of fun. So that's what these were. And then I really wanted to cast something on right away. I wanted to do a center out shawl so that the light part could be at the top, and then stripe some way the colors together. So a friend of mine suggested the lilacs and marigolds shawl. So this is a longer, somewhat crescent-shaped shawl, and it's started in the center, and it's 2 colors striped. It calls for 2 100-gram DK weight yarns. So I had about the right yardage needed for this. So with spinning, you never have exactly the right thing, it seems like. But the nice thing with this pattern is you can kind of add extra rows or take rows out if you don't have enough of one of your yarns. So I'm going to show you what I have so far. So this is upside down. So this is the beginning of the triangle. And you can see the light gradient getting to darker. And then you have these stripes with a little bit of color work, a little bit of slip stitches and different patterns to mix the 2 yarns together. So, and I think that it'll end with the multicolor yarn. And so eventually the more solid gradient will just kind of phase out into mostly this down at the bottom. So I just really, really love working with Handspun. It feels so much like art, and a lot of times knitting, you purchase the materials already, the supplies already made, you follow the pattern that somebody else wrote, and it is art, and it's lovely, and I love knitting, but there's something about making yarn and not quite knowing what it's going to really look like, even if you have an idea of how it's going to turn out, depending on how you spin it, you really never know until you actually knit it, and it's so much fun to knit Handspun because it is like a surprise every time how it turns out. So I'm really happy with how this is going. I stopped it because I knew I wanted to show it to you and I didn't want it to get all scrunched up on the needle because it's going to get wider and wider. It's just so fun to knit Handspun. It really is. So if you ever have the opportunity to spin or purchase Handspun, highly recommend. It's very, very enjoyable. So that is going great. Oh, and the Lilacs and Marigolds pattern is by Chic and Royal Knits. There's not a name of a designer on the pattern, so I'll have to look up and put below her actual name. So I have an acquisition for you. I have some more Frugal Finds, and then I have an announcement. I should have said at the beginning that I have an announcement. I'll have to write that at the bottom. And then I have a fun Rooster story. So I'll start with my acquisition. So for Mother's Day, I was so excited because Emily of Boldenburn ended up dyeing some yarn, and she dyed the most lovely muted flower colored, oh, it was lovely. I'll show you. I couldn't resist. These are called the Red Wall Flower Minis, and they are just so lovely. And I love this reddish pink because it almost leans a little bit towards orange, and I just love that. And this golden color, love, blue. So these are called Rosy, that's the pink, Tansy is the yellow, Columbine is blue, Lupin is purple, and Bryony is green. So she sold these at the beginning of May. I don't know if she has more of them in her Etsy shop, but I snatched them up right away because I knew I wanted them for Mother's Day, and I haven't decided what I'm going to make with them. I think I'm just going to sit them on a shelf in my room and enjoy them for a while. But these are named after characters in the Redwall book series, which I actually have been reading. So it's a book about little battling mice. And I had a really good friend when I was young who loved these books, and I just never had a chance to read them. I was very busy reading other things. And so I've purchased several of these over the years when I go to book sales, and this is one of the books I've been working my way through this year because I've always wanted to read it, and it's very good, and I think the children are going to enjoy it, so I'm glad I have been able to read it first so I can share it with them. But so a lot of the mice and the characters are named after plants and natural trees and things, so it's a really neat book. So these are the Redwall flowers colorways. So my second frugal find of the day are cross-stitch magazines. So my library has a magazine stand at the entrance with free magazines. You never know what's going to be there. Sometimes you find like an all recipes magazine, like sometimes you find book review magazines. You just never know what's going to be there. And we go to the library a lot, so one week I noticed they had a cross-stitch magazine. And then I realized they have possibly hundreds of cross-stitch magazines. Someone had donated their whole collection of cross-stitching magazines, and I did not want to take them all. I did not. I was tempted, but I did not take them all. I took, like a handful of them and took them home and looked through them, and, we waited another week before going to the library, and then the next week they were still there. No one had picked them up, so I took another little handful, took them home, looked through them. The next week we go back, they're still there. Evidently nobody wanted the cross-stitch magazines. So the last 4 or 5 times we've been to the library, I've come home with a little stack of cross-stitch magazines. And I do enjoy cross-stitching. It's something I haven't done a lot in the past year just because of time constraints, but I really want to do more of it. I also really love to read, and I love to read cookbooks. I love to read nonfiction. I am really enjoying reading cross-stitch magazines now, so evidently someone else did too because she had a ton of them and she donated them to the library to give away to their patrons. So I'm going to show you a very small stack of cross-stitch magazines, and if you're not interested, you can just fast forward through seeing all the magazines to the next part. So a lot of them were from the 90s and the early 2000s. One was this Stitcher's World. So this was from 2005. So this is one of the ones that was from the early 2000s. And it just has a bunch of patterns in it. This one is from 2003, the Cross Stitcher. So I found several of these, the Cross Stitcher, and I love, this is This is my cross-stitch jam, like the kind of traditional, kind of old school looking sampler. I just love cross-stitching these types of things. So I made one for my sister, and I made one for my kitchen. I'm working on another one, and I might make this one. So I need to make another one for my other sister, but I'm in no hurry. It just will happen when it happens. And then there was also this cross stitch and needlework. This one's from 2008. And this has this adorable 4th of July pattern. Here is an older version of that same one. This is 1999. And one of my daughters really likes this. And these little motifs, like this would be perfect for a young person that wants to learn to cross stitch, because they could just do one of them maybe on a bookmark or something. So cute. This next one I think is my favorite, and the last time I went, I was specifically looking for this one, and it's the Better Homes and Gardens Treasures in Needlework. And these are older. This is 1993. These Treasures in Needlework, they have like interest pieces in them about different topics. So here's like a whole article about Victorian pincushions. So like I said, I love to read nonfiction and things, so seeing the little extra special interest articles just made me so happy. Here is about a lady named Linda Driscoll who has a passion for preserving needlework. Isn't that lovely? There she is. So there's a whole article about her and how she preserves needlework projects. And it also has these needlework gazette pages. So these are this tan color, and it looks like an old-fashioned magazine or newspaper. And it has a few pages of different things in there. And I love it. I will sit and read this and enjoy it. So, and I think I maybe got 4 or 5 of these, so I'm going to work my way through reading them. Another one title that I found was the Stony Creek cross stitch. I think I got a few of these, and this looks maybe a little more country style. I like these too. All of them have Christmas patterns. I think Christmas patterns are very popular with cross stitchers. This is 2008. And then the last one I brought in here today is Mary Hickmott's New Stitches. And I adore this little garden sampler. Isn't that adorable? It is so precious. I would love to make that. So this publication was printed in England, and it is from 1996. Yes, 1996. So I have a few of these as well. So I'm going to enjoy reading these, and then I will probably either save the ones that I think I might make something out of and pass the other ones along. But they still had more at my, I didn't even take them all the last time I went, so there's still more. Someone really loved cross stitch, and it's very interesting. So check your libraries if they have magazine racks with magazines for free. That was really exciting. It made going to the library very exciting to see if the magazines cross-stitch magazines were still going to be there. Now I'm going to move into a little bit of story time. So we've had just glorious weather. I hope you have been having good weather wherever you live. Our weather has been lovely. We've had so much rain, and you don't realize how much you miss rain until you live in Texas and you go through just, it feels like ages without rain. But this spring we have had plenty of rain. It has been very kind to rain at night so that we can have our daytime activities as normal, and then we get just nice rain at night, and the plants have been exploding. Everything is green and lush. We planted our garden, and my tomatoes, I can't remember if I told you, the tomatoes I planted, my husband had left them out near the tomato coop when we were moving things around, or near the chicken coop. And the chickens came out and ate all the leaves off of the baby tomato plants. And I was so worried that they were going to just die. But we planted them anyway. They are humongous. They are at least 5 feet tall. And they're exploding out of the tomato cages we have. And we have like a chicken wire teepee over everything to protect them from the chickens when the chickens come out of their area. And so the tomatoes are going crazy. My garlic is almost ready to pull. And I like to walk out to where our garden is every day and just check on everything and see if things are growing. I planted a whole bunch of flower seeds earlier this spring, and they are just not sprouting. I have a few that have sprouted, so I don't know if I got some bad seeds, but I go out to kind of check. And one day I went out there to check on my garden, and I saw our rooster, who is named Sunny. He is not a happy guy. He does not like me. But I saw him, and he was a good ways away from me. Like, he was at least 20 or 30 feet away. He was plenty far away, so I didn't really think anything of it. Well, I'm looking at the garden, and I start walking back to our house, and I heard something, and I turn around, and he is just running at me, full speed, just beeline straight to get me. He had his feathers all fluffed up. This guy is scary looking, and I was screaming at him, and he got closer to me, and I was kicking at him, and I was just yelling, and I do not like the rooster. And luckily, my wonderful dog that we rescued from the pound, he saved me. He came running from the other side of the yard, got between me and the rooster, and put his nose into the rooster's chest and just pushed him back away from me. And the rooster retreated and went back to the chicken yard. I was so grateful. Like, this dog is my hero. And his name is Patrick because we adopted him on St. Patrick's Day. He appears to be a mix of Pyrenees, Black Lab, and maybe Border Collie because he's black, but he has the coat of a Pyrenees, and he's got the white paws of a Border Collie. But so he is a kind of, shepherding, protector dog. And I'm just so happy that he came and he heard me. I was the only one outside at the time, and I was scared. So I am a lot bigger than the rooster, but I do not like him. So I don't know. He has not become a stew yet, and that's mainly because my eldest daughter loves him, and he is so nice to her. He's just like a baby in her arms. So I don't know. I'm done with him, and now anytime I need to go out, I make her lock him up. So, because we are not friends. So, well, we're getting ready for summer. I hope you're getting ready for a fun summer. We are weeding out our house and getting ready to do a garage sale. We've lived in this house almost 17 years, so when you don't have that like move to kind of like do the moving purge, things can build up. So we are going through everything and having a big garage sale. And so I have decided to do a make along. I'm not planning on selling my yarn stuff in the garage sale, but I'm a little inspired to do some reorganizing and some weeding and work on some old projects. So I'm going to host the Texas Peach Knits Fluff Your Stash Make Along of 2023. So the hashtag is TPK for Texas Peach Knits Fluff Your Stash, MAL for Make Along 2023. So if you use that hashtag on Instagram, you will be entered to win prizes. And what are the prizes? Well, they're going to be the things I fluff out of my stash. So they might be cross stitch magazines, or I already found a few duplicates of some other knitting magazines that I have had, and yarn, maybe fabric, maybe project bags, pretty much anything that I find that I'm ready to pass along. So if you're in the United States and you win, I will send you a prize from my stash to yours. And if you're outside of the United States and you win, I will send you a pattern, because shipping things outside of the United States is very expensive. I might, depending on where you live, I can do it like a check on how much it would cost, and if the shipping is similar to about a pattern price, or about what I'm spending on shipping in the US. I might make an exception, but for now, that is the way I'm going to do it. So, but I hope you will fluff your stash along with me. I'm not asking you to get rid of your stash, because we all need our stashes, but give it some air, pull it out, reorganize it, take pictures of it looking beautiful or in a mess on your, on the floor as you pull everything out. If you work on a project that is made with materials that you purchased prior to June 1st, you can take pictures of that. If you finish an old WIP, you can take pictures of that. It's pretty open. The only thing that doesn't count is if you buy brand new yarn and knit a brand new pattern after June 1st. So that doesn't count. But almost, use your best judgment, and I'm probably not going to nitpick anyone, because the real goal is to get us knitting and doing our thing. So you can also do other crafts. So if you organize your fabric stash, organize your embroidery things, even if you organize your scrapbooking, whatever it is that you do, take pictures of it, show me how you fluffed your stash, and and enter to win a prize. So this is going to go from June 1st through August 31st, and then in my September, well, I'm going to pull prizes throughout the summer. I'm going to do at least 3 prizes, possibly more. I'm hoping that during the summer I'll have more time to podcast frequently, and one of my goals is to learn how to set up my camera so that you can see me doing things. So maybe I'll take it and organize some of my stash and film it for future podcasts. So I haven't quite figured that out yet. I'm not super techie, so I'm going to work on that. That's one of my goals. And so you are welcome to double dip. So if you are knitting for the Crazy Sock Ladies Summer Sock Camp, if you're knitting for another make along this summer and it qualifies for mine as well, please enter it. I'm happy for you to win as many prizes as you can, because the more the merrier, and it's all for fun anyways. So please join me for the Texas Beach Knits Fluff Your Stash Make-Along 2023, and we will all get organized together. So I'm going to end this now. I don't think I have anything else to share. I'm really thankful for all of you who take the time to sit with me and listen to me go on about all the things. And I really enjoy interacting with everyone through Instagram and through email when I receive emails from people. So it's nice to be a part of a crafting community. So have a great rest of May, what is left of it, and get ready to fluff your stash in June. Have a great rest of your week.